Welcome to a brand new series on the channel. We're going to be reacting to financial advice all over the internet. Good or bad advice, and sometimes advice so crazy, it makes me want to unplug my Wi-Fi.
Property business is a scam. Understand that it's not rent versus mortgage. Sometimes it's mortgage versus freedom. If I put that money on deposit on a house, and then on top of that, I'm spending money keeping the house, making it nice, I have to fix the washing machine, I have to fix the fence that's been blown over, I have to fix the guttering, I have to do all these things and not the landlord. My mind is taken up, the most important part, and then also resources are slowly being sucked out of you. Owning a home costs money, right? You're gonna pay 4 times more for it by the time you've paid off the mortgage.
Yeah, all right. Owning a house ain't cheap. Sometimes the roof starts leaking at the worst possible time, and all that. Every homeowner knows exactly what he's talking about.
Yep.
But whenever we talk about this, I can't understand one thing from these people. What is the alternative?
Oh yeah, like do you want people to rent forever?
Yeah, like what is the end game here? You get a job at 20 and then keep renting until you're 70. Then what?
Apparently the idea is to rent instead of buying. Invest the money that would have gone toward owning a home, and hopefully one day those investments pay your rent for the rest of your life.
That's unrealistic. Not everybody's some entrepreneur pulling in crazy money every month.
Yeah, I mean, most folks are just teachers, mechanics, nurses, and, you know, regular people making regular incomes. Just trying to build a stable life for their families, right?
Yes, that is why most people are going to need a mortgage to buy a home. That is a reality. It's just simple physics.
You wouldn't believe how many people out there don't want to mess with this investing stuff. It might seem simple to you, but for a whole lot of folks, it really isn't.
Yep. You know, people say, don't mess with things you don't understand. I mean, you should try to learn this stuff because it's literally good for you. But we're talking reality here, man.
I think this person is looking at this through an entrepreneur's lens. You know these guys make hundreds of thousands a month, but most people watching this don't.
If everybody became an entrepreneur tomorrow, who's stocking the grocery shelves? And who's answering 911? Somebody's got to do those jobs.
And we're not saying go buy some $1 million house either. Buy a house you can actually afford using the correct technique. I'm not going to go into detail right now, but, you know, we teach 15-year fixed-rate mortgage and put down as much as you reasonably can.
Yep. Don't forget the emergency fund, too, because the roof ain't going to text you before it starts leaking.
Mortgages, that's the biggest liability somebody will ever take on in their life. But for the bank, that's an asset. It's obviously much more preferable to buy that asset in cash because you could end up paying 2.5, 3 times more for the property that you want to purchase, but you're doing it on a mortgage. You're taking a mortgage to purchase it. No wealthy people have liabilities. Wealthy people stick to the principle that they don't want to take on liabilities, they want to own assets. So it's obviously much more preferable to buy for cash, but people feel like they have no choice. Borrow money in order to finance a lifestyle that they can't afford right now for cash, but they pay over, let's say, 25 years. They do have an alternative, and that's what they don't realize. They can rent. Now, people think that renting is a liability. They kind of group it in the same basket as debt. Well, it's not debt. It's not a liability in the traditional sense. If you rent, it can actually be an asset because you have no risk. You can leave anytime, and you have total freedom. And freedom is an asset, and that's what wealthy people get. They understand that. People who don't really understand money, they mix up assets and liabilities, and they think that taking on a mortgage, having it secured on a home, that it's some sort of asset. It's not. It's a major liability. What it essentially does is just put you in a trap, and the owner of that debt is receiving the payments and you're paying them, and you end up on this scheduled payment hamster wheel.
All right, here we go again. Another person telling folks mortgages are the problem.
I'll give him this much. If you can buy a house with cash, do it. Nobody's arguing against that. But then he jumps from saying cash is better to mortgages are a trap. He's comparing the best case scenario, which is to buy a house with cash, to the worst case scenario, which is when someone is buried in a mortgage they can't afford.
But the same question again. What should regular people do? Most people are choosing between renting or buying a modest house they can afford, not between cash or mortgage.
His message is basically the same as before. Instead of putting a huge down payment into a house and spending the next 25 years paying a mortgage, rent a place instead and invest that money. If those investments average a good return year after year, eventually they could grow enough that the returns alone could cover your rent for the rest of your life. That's the idea.
If you're disciplined enough to actually invest that money instead of spending it, that strategy can work. You think most people people can do that?
Yep, that's unfortunately true. That's why I still lean toward buying a house you can actually afford and getting a 15-year fixed mortgage if you can swing it. For the average person, that's a whole lot more realistic than betting your future on decades of perfect investing discipline.
So are you in the camp that you shouldn't spend money on the small things, like the coffee? If you don't need it, you should make the coffee at home. Is that kind of...
I can't stand it when I see kids that are making 70 grand a year spending $28 for lunch. I mean, that's just stupid. It's just, think about that in the context of that being put into an index and making 8 to 10% a year for the next 50 years.
I understand the point he's making. Small habits do add up. If you're spending money every single day without thinking about it, that can turn into thousands of dollars over time. And that money could have been working for you.
The power of compound growth.
Exactly.
A few dollars here and there doesn't look like much today, but over decades, that money could have grown into something meaningful.
But listen, once in a while, go buy the coffee. Grab lunch with your friends. You're a human being, not a machine sitting in a room counting pennies all day.
I hear you. The problem ain't the coffee. It's when you can't afford it, but you keep doing it every single day anyway, while your bills are piling up and your savings account is empty.
That's the difference, guys. If you got your house in order, you're paying your debts, you've got an emergency fund, and you want to enjoy a coffee, go ahead.
Suit yourself.
Yeah, but if you're broke and living paycheck to paycheck, you gotta wake up from the good sleep.
I'll personally wake you up from that sleep.